September 18, 2016, the South Hwanghae province of North Korea. A high-ranking official at the North Korean intelligence agency, Ministry of State Security, collaborates with a friend to escape the country. For this arduous task, they decide to use the cover of the tempestuous Yellow Sea. Before they set off, the state security official named Lee Chun-yoon tries his best to make some rudimentary preparations. He scouts the location and figures out how to best avoid electrified fences and minefields on the way to the open sea. On the morning of the escape, he visits his father's grave to say goodbye. He avoids visiting his mother, afraid that she would change his mind. He clocks into work as usual and tells his colleagues that he's headed out to investigate a suspect. Leaving his desk cluttered and busy, as if not to arouse suspicion, he packs a tire tube, an air pump, and some food to put in his backpack. And yes, this is a high-earning state official in the state of North Korea. The two men make their way past the electric fence, the minefield, and the guards, only to find their tire and air pump combo lacking. Upon realizing that it wouldn't work, they ditched it, threw their backpacks into the sea, and jumped onto them. This was just the start. They had to swim across a 6-kilometer stretch of cold water. After a couple of hours, they ditched their clothes and food out of exhaustion. A couple more hours, and they start cramping when suddenly they see a boat coming toward them. Suspecting it to be a North Korean boat, they frantically swim to a small island nearby. Little do they know that they're past the aquatic boundary and have just avoided a South Korean vessel. They hide themselves in a heap of trash and get some sleep. The next morning, they decide to make a raft out of styrofoam from the garbage and set off. After a while, they notice some boats coming toward them from the other side. The South Koreans had arrived to their rescue. What would compel a man in a cushy office job to do this? To leave his homeland and his family behind? This is the unfortunate reality of North Korea and the iron fist rule of Kim Jong Un. Let's get into it. This one man holds absolute power over 120,540 square kilometers. Let that sink in. Most of us can't even have absolute power in our own homes. After the Second World War, the Soviets installed a guerrilla leader, Kim Il-sung, as the leader. He formed the Korean People's Army, installing his guerrilla comrades in senior roles, as well as the North Korean Federation of Literature for creating propaganda. The legacy of the Kim family, as well as these institutions, continues to feature prominently in the country. Ever since Kim Jong Un assumed power in 2011, the noose around the 26 million people of North Korea has tightened. He has worked tirelessly to isolate and silence his critics. A few years into his reign, the number of defectors had already gone down massively. This is because he enforced brutal punishments for deserters. Border guards, who were used to taking bribes to let people sneak through, were clamped down on, hard. Those who blow the whistle on any underground plans are amply rewarded. But why do so many people want to leave the country so badly? To answer this question, let's roleplay as someone who enters the country. Entering the country is no joke. You need a state guide who shows you around the town. You wouldn't know what to look for. There's no internet, no foreign TV, no social media apps, nothing. You're at the mercy of your sanctioned guide. Much of what he shows belongs to the 1% of the 1%. But reality does seep in. For instance, you might find yourself asking, why on earth are all the roads empty? If you're gullible, you might leave without getting any answers. Leaving is a hassle too, of course. As you leave, the soldiers check your stuff, including your electronics, for any potentially alarming videos. What these armed men would fail to tell you is that there was a very particular reason that all those roads were empty. That is because you cannot own a car in North Korea, even if you're a government official. You might see officials move around in Mercedes, but the state owns those vehicles. In exceptional circumstances, the state hands out cars to a select few as gifts. These may include influential traders or athletes with achievements on the international level. These cars could be easily identified by their registration number, 216. They no longer have the same number, however, because once a driver with that number plate made the mistake of overtaking Kim Jong Un's car. Kim had the driver executed, and the numbers on all those cars were changed to 727 to avoid mention of that one event. The guide and the troopers might also fail to mention that the country's 21 billion USD GDP is a far cry from its southern counterparts too. 4 trillion USD. A little more digging would tell you that all those people with cushy office jobs in the North Korean capital Pyongyang were earning just shy of $5 per month, and that the factory workers were usually making 5 times less than that, if they were being paid at all. After all, Unpaid child labor is rather common. An average North Korean is used to doing work without remuneration because the country needs it. That's what the TV tells them. Every time you turn on that screen, there's nothing but military parades and threats from other countries. The screen shows their leader saying that capitalism is the scum of the earth before he enters his luxurious car and drives away on the empty road. Since the people are told that the world is out to get them, most of them would break before they bend. They have the grit to do that since nearly everyone is conscripted at the age of 17. Men serve for 10 years, and women serve for 6. The only ones who do not serve are the academically gifted, which is a rare talent in a country with a 98% literacy rate. An important part of the regime is shoving propaganda down everybody's throats, and education is a vital part of that process. As the people die of starvation, the state funds their education to make them believe that they're sorely mistaken about their circumstances. You think this is bad? Wait till our Secret Service gets its hands on you. Secret police officials are everywhere and are always ready to pounce. This two-pronged structure is highly effective. The propaganda ensures that only a few step out of line, and the police make sure that those who do are made into examples. There have been several reports of public hangings. One particular report explains how a group of teenagers was shot inside a stadium in front of a clapping crowd because K-pop and South Korean soap operas were found on their USB. There is a large black market for foreign entertainment. It works as a distraction or a painkiller of sorts. Some of them finally decide to leave for some of the countries they see on their bootleg DVDs. Short of setting out to sea, they only have 2 viable options: head for the China border or the DMZ, the border with South Korea. Since China is an ally, it usually sends deserters back, and the security at the DMZ has increased to a frankly ridiculous degree. Little goes in, little comes out, and what comes out is always traumatized. Support the channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.